Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today we're exploring how doctors Monica Oli and Teixeira from the Department of Microbiology and Cell Science are literally transforming the modern classroom. We're talking about a complete masterclass in turning a traditional top-down learning environment into this incredibly dynamic, self-directed workshop. And the engine behind it all? NaviGator Notebook. Now, if you aren't familiar, that is the University of Florida's secure, behind-the-firewall implementation of Google's Notebook LM. We're going to distill the core insights of their intensive one-hour workshop down into this focused explainer. So whether you're an educator, a student, or just someone looking to become an absolute Gemini power user, we are going to walk through exactly how to use this tool to build inclusive, self-directed environments deeply rooted in UDL, or Universal Design for Learning. To keep things moving, we've broken this down into 6 quick areas. We'll start with the pedagogical problem, the unscripted future, then we hit shifting learner agency, followed by a look at grounded AI. After that, we're rolling up our sleeves to cover building your hub, mastering the studio workflow for UDL compliance, and finally, tying the whole shebang together with information alchemy.
So, let's jump right into section 1, the unscripted future, and how we actually prepare for the unknown. You know, we have to start with this massive, foundational problem facing modern education today. We're literally tasked with preparing students for a world we can't even picture yet. This is the ultimate hook, right? It draws directly from the OECD's vision for 2040. How on earth do we prepare learners for jobs that haven't even been created yet? How do we teach them to tackle unimagined societal challenges using technologies that don't even exist right now? I mean, you can't just hand someone a textbook and say, good luck out there in the unpredictable future. It just doesn't work.
And it really comes down to this paradox of competency versus capability. Having access to information absolutely does not equal understanding. Think about it. If an instructor hands out a strict recipe, like a highly rigid lab protocol, the student follows it to the letter, the experiment works, and everyone high-fives. But honestly, it's a cognitive dead end. The student just learned how to follow instructions, not how to actually think or design an original experiment. But if you provide them with tools instead of recipes, suddenly that student is formulating novel questions, synthesizing outside sources, and achieving true intellectual independence.
That brings us perfectly to section 2, shifting learner agency, moving from pedagogy to hatagogy.
Right, so to escape that cognitive dead end we just talked about, we need a massive paradigm shift in how we view the locus of control in learning. We usually start at pedagogy, highly teacher-directed, very focused on efficient content delivery. Then we kind of graduate to andragogy, where it's a bit more learner-directed but still safely inside the instructor's framework. But our ultimate destination, heutagogy. This is completely learner-determined. This is where students develop active agency through what we call double-loop learning. So they aren't just memorizing facts. They are constantly reflecting on their own underlying processes and actually adjusting how they learn.
But here is the catch. For heutagogy to actually work, educators have to radically change their own identity. You literally have to step down from being the sage on the stage, that rigid control and top-down instruction, and become the guide on the side. In this model, your job is to nurture an autonomy-supportive environment around a central knowledge hub. The tech we're about to dive into, that's just the infrastructure. The educator's real job becomes modeling how a scientist actually thinks, how they push through frustration, and how they ask really purposeful questions.
All right, section 3, enter grounded AI, creating a safe inquiry environment.
So all that theory is fantastic, but how do we actually empower students to direct their own learning without them just completely getting lost in the noise and misinformation of the internet? Well, you immediately hit the friction between standard, open-ended AI and grounded tools like NaviGator Notebook. Standard chatbots just pull from the open web, right? They hallucinate, they completely bypass the productive struggle of learning, and they usually just spit out these dense walls of text that cause total cognitive overload. It is a nightmare for UDL principals. Notebook LM, on the other hand, is completely different. It relies strictly on user-uploaded, verified materials. It acts as this grounded, metacognitive thinking partner that outputs multimodal formats to actually support universal design for learning. Tech expert Sandeep Swadia really hit the nail on the head when he said, instead of artificial incompetence, you are now anchored in reality, because it only knows what you feed it, your documents, your transcripts, your data. It doesn't just give you a response, it gives you the receipts. It is a fundamentally safe, grounded environment for real inquiry.
Okay, section 4. Let's get into the mechanics. Building your hub, from novice to power user.
If you were actually sitting in Dr. Oli and Dr. Teixeira's workshop, this is the exact moment you transition into a power user. The learning arc of this tool is beautiful because it is not a transactional, one-and-done search bar. It's an infinite loop. As a beginner, you upload sources to build the hub. Then you chat to interrogate the data. Then you step up to power user mode and hit the studio to generate multimodal outputs. And finally, those outputs feed right back into the process, helping you spot knowledge gaps and prompting even deeper questions.
So think of this as your core daily workflow. Step 1, build your hub by uploading materials. Step 2, chat with your sources. And this is so cool. When you ask a question, the AI answers with instant, verifiable inline citations. You just click the citation and it jumps you to the exact highlighted passage in your original document. And then step 3, you transform that content into entirely new formats.
And the sheer capacity of this thing, it's staggering. You aren't just uploading a couple of PDFs. You can feed this engine an incredibly diverse mix: Google Docs, standard PDFs, copy-pasted text, MP3 audio files, even public YouTube URLs. You can upload up to 50 sources per notebook. And get this, each single source can hold up to 500,000 words. You are literally building a highly specific, customized, multi-million-word brain dedicated entirely to whatever you are studying or researching. Moving right along to Section 5, Studio Workflow and UDL, where we talk about content transformation.
Once you've got all that rich information loaded up, we hit the final, most powerful stage of the process, the Studio panel. This is what turns NaviGator Notebook from a clever chat tool into an absolute beast of a content transformation engine. This is exactly where the magic of universal design for learning really comes to life. It gives you the power to synthesize mountains of data with literally the click of a button.
Inside the Studio, you can instantly generate a whole menu of UDL-compliant outputs. Got auditory learners? Generate a deep dive audio overview, which creates this shockingly realistic AI-generated podcast between two hosts discussing your exact source material. For visual learners, you spin up mind maps. Need to do some active studying? Generate interactive flashcards. You can create customized briefing docs, study guides, even slide decks. It naturally enforces UDL by giving every single type of learner a customized way to interact with complex material.
And from an educator's perspective, this completely changes the game for assessment. When we ask students to write explicit, iterative prompts, we are essentially watching them design instructions. When we analyze how they redirect the AI when it inevitably gets confused, we are witnessing their STEM expertise happen in real time. So the prompt is no longer just the pedagogy. The prompt is the test. Design and measurement are happening simultaneously. You're getting this incredible real-time qualitative data on a student's scientific reasoning based solely on how they interact with their own knowledge hub.
Finally, let's wrap this up in Section 6, Information Alchemy, turning data into capability.
Let's step back and look at the big picture here, bringing the software mechanics and the theory together. Dr. Oli refers to this as information alchemy. We take heavy, raw input materials, the lead, like massive PDFs and YouTube transcripts in multiple languages. We drop them into the crucible of NaviGator Notebook. We use the AI as a metacognitive scaffold to process, synthesize, and evaluate it all. And what comes out the other side? Actionable professional insights and capabilities. Pure gold.
Because ultimately, the goal of integrating AI into the classroom or the lab isn't just to get answers faster. Not at all. It's to foster learner ownership, build absolute resilience, and demand source-based reasoning. We are trying to bridge that gap between clean, perfect textbook knowledge and messy, complicated, real-world reality. We are building internal compasses for our students. Which brings us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with today. As you step back into your classroom, your lab, or your workspace, and you consider how to use tools like NaviGator Notebook, ask yourself, in an unscripted future, are you still building recipes, or are you building compasses? Take that thought with you as you explore the tool. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer.